Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the United States of America. What we're going to hear today is truth against a fascist company, a Nazi company, actually, operating under the same pretenses as what Nazis would be operating under. Yes. Let's listen to this.
Crenshaw. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for some of the thoughtful discussion on how you combat terrorism online. I think there's worthy debates to be had there. And there's good questions on whether some of this content provides education so that we know of the bad things out there, or whether it's radicalizing people. Those are hard discussions to have, and I don't know that we're going to solve them today. But the problem is that the testimony doesn't stop there. The policies at your social media companies do not stop there. It doesn't stop at the clear-cut lines of terrorism and terrorist videos and terrorist propaganda. Unfortunately, that's not exactly what we're talking about. It goes much further than that.
Yeah. When I post this video, they're going to consider this terrorism and radicalized discussion because it doesn't fit into their Nazi, fascist, communist ideologies that they're following. They're the terrorist. Google, and including YouTube, for the acts that they're doing. Remember, every time that they censor somebody, it's living proof that they're losing the freaking argument, people.
It goes down the slippery slope of what speech is appropriate for your platform and the vague standards that you employ.
Absolutely.
To decide what is appropriate. And this is especially concerning given the recent news and the recent leaked email.
They aren't God. They aren't the ones to determine what is or isn't free speech. What is or isn't terrorist words. That's not their job.
Emails from Google. They show that labeling mainstream conservative media as Nazis is a premise upon which you operate.
Yep.
It's not even a question, according to those emails. The emails say, given that.
Funny thing is the exact thing that they're doing and calling people, that is exactly the same thing that they're doing. Pointing the finger while doing the same thing.
Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, and Dennis Prager are Nazis. Given that that's a premise, what do we do about it? 2 of 3 of these people are Jewish, very religious Jews, and yet you think they're Nazis. It begs the question, what kind of education do people at Google have?
That's no shit. They are the stupidest frickin' lowlifes, obviously, on planet Earth, and they're being employed. I've said this before. All the wrong people are all in the right places right now, and this is why we're having this problem.
So they think that religious Jews are Nazis?
Ha ha, really?
3 of 3 of these people had family members killed in the Holocaust. Ben Shapiro is the #1 target of the alt-right, and yet you people operate off the premise that he's a Nazi.
Ha ha ha.
It's pretty disturbing.
Yes, it is.
And it gets to the question, do you believe in hate speech? How do you define that? Can you give me a quick definition?
They don't know. They wrote up their own rule book, that's why. And you can't do that. You can't supersede the laws of the land. And that's what you people are doing. And to me, right now, watching a debate over this, instead of going in and doing what we should legally doing, is shut that business down, because you people that are doing this in Google and in YouTube or any other social program platform that is out there, you're the Nazis. You are the Nazis. Your conduct fits right in the category of that, people.
Right now, is it written down somewhere, Google? Can you give me a definition of hate speech?
Congressman, yes. So hate speech, again, as
that little
updated in our
frickin'
guidelines
prick
now, extends to
Somebody take him and slap him
superiority of
around.
protected groups to justify discrimination, violence, and so on, based on a number of defining characteristics, whether that's race, sexual orientation, veteran status.
Do you have an example of
Look at those hands. You could tell that man never worked a day in his life. I mean, a hard day in his life. That motherfricker has pushed paper and has done nothing but fucking bullshit in his life. He don't know what it is to work.
Shapiro or Jordan Peterson or Dennis Prager engaging in hate speech? Do you have one example off the top of your head?
So, Congressman, we evaluate.
He didn't
individual
answer
piece
the
of content
question.
based on that content, rather than based on the speaker.
See, this is the thing that I totally dislike with these proceedings. Every proceeding that I see in government. This is a fucking circus show, people. They're violating people's First Amendment. That is a civil crime. And they should be arrested for it. All of the CEOs at the round table, since they're the ones that operate these companies and they're the ones that dictate these policies that they're following. They need to do an arrest and convict them for crimes against the people of America.
The next question. Do you believe speech can be violence? All right. There's not can you incite violence? That is very clearly not protected. But can speech just be violence? Do you believe that speech that isn't specifically calling for violence can be labeled violence and therefore harmful to people? Is that possible?
It can be. And their conduct is going to create violence. If you start silencing a sector of society, which is a fascist communist act, that group that you're silencing, what do you think that they're going to do, people? They only have one choice. That's to start cracking some heads. That will come if they continue to do that. I'm not the one that's going to do it, but I can guarantee you, you keep silencing enough people, you're going to silence the wrong person one day, and they're going to be a terrorist against you. Yes, they will. They will go after each and every one of you people in these companies, and they'll start targeting you. Don't you realize this? Are you guys this fucking inept to think about the fascist acts that you're doing is going to actually create violence? Your own actions, Google corporate people, including YouTube corporate people. Your acts are going to create the very problem that you say that you're stopping.
Congressman, I'm not sure I fully understand the distinction you're drawing. Certainly, again, incitement to violence or things that are encouraging dangerous behavior, those are things that would be against our policy.
No shit.
Here's the thing. When you call somebody a Nazi,
This poor guy is so frustrated because he knows what they're doing is absolutely not only illegal, it is 100% wrong, or they wouldn't even be up here talking about it. And after that video of the girl spilling the beans on their policies, shit's gonna happen, people. This is festering. You know, in the revolution, it didn't happen overnight, ladies and gentlemen. It was a manifest of 15 or 20 years of aggravated division in that time. And look what it created, a bloodbath. That's what you're doing, people. You're going to create a civil war in this country. Do you really want to do that?
you can make the argument that you're inciting violence, and here's how. As a country, we all agree the Nazis are bad. We actually invaded an entire continent to defeat the Nazis. It's normal to say hashtag punch a Nazi because there's this common thread in this country that they're bad and that they're evil and that they should be destroyed. So when you're operating off of that premise, and frankly, it's a good premise to operate on, well, what you're implying then is that it's okay to use violence against them.
And that's exactly what you're doing. It's not a physical violence, but when you silence somebody and they don't have a voice, Well, that is violence, because you just took their right away, their birthright. It's in the Bill of Rights, you idiots. It's the number one on our Bill of Rights. When you step on that person and shut them up, not only you're a terrorist, you're a murderer of the First Amendment, which is a terrorist act. Google and YouTube workers and corporate people.
When you label them, one of the most powerful social media companies in the world labels people as Nazis, you can make the argument that's inciting violence.
No, that actually makes them the Nazis. What did the Nazis supposedly do? Silence people. Just like you're doing, Google, YouTube.
What you're doing is wholly irresponsible.
Absolutely.
A year ago, it was also made clear that your fact check system is blatantly targeted at conservative newspapers. Do you have any comment on that? Are you aware of the story I'm talking about?
I'm not familiar with necessarily the specific story.
What a dog and pony show.
From all political viewpoints, we sometimes get.
Remember his face, people.
Of this sort.
Remember the lady's face to the fucking left of him.
Are done algorithmically based on markup and follow-up on our policies.
For the record, they specifically target conservative news media, and oftentimes they have a fact check on there that doesn't even reference the actual article, but we will make sure that it's right next to it so as to make people understand that that one is questionable, even though when you actually read through it, it has nothing to do with it. A few days ago, and this goes to you, Ms. Burkett, one of my constituents posted photos on Facebook.
Ms. Burka, remember her name.
Women daring
remember
to say
her
that
face.
women for Trump. Facebook took down that post right away.
Start taking names and fucking pictures of these people.
Without seeing it, it's hard for me to opine. That doesn't violate our policies, but I'm happy to follow up on the specific example.
Remember her face.
Thank you. Listen, here's what it comes down to. If we don't share the values of free speech, I'm not sure where we go from here.
Absolutely. You can't have one value and somebody else have a different value. Free speech is free speech. Look, dipshits, freedom is dangerous at times. Believe me. You can't create a utopia. You're not gonna create a utopia. But the actions you're doing, you're gonna create a division in this country, which you already are on the process of doing. Google and YouTube. I hope you're listening to what I'm telling you. I have lived long enough. I am a freaking damn senior citizen. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't listen, the shit that I'm telling you is going to happen. Every action, there's a reaction, you little dumbasses. You are creating the problem while thinking you're stopping the problem. You are the problem. You can't silence people. Silence will create violence. Are you this stupid? All of you that work at these two companies or anywhere else. Yes, I'm angry. I'm angry because you're stepping on the basic values of America and you think it's cool to do that. You think that is all right. You think that you could make your own rules. Yeah. Well, needless to say, I'm going to tell you over and over again. This guy has some great questions and you're not answering them fully and correctly. You're beating around the bush because you know damn well he is right and you are in the violation of everybody's civil liberties by silencing people. And by silencing and censoring people, it's an absolute obvious that you're losing the argument because you can't come back with anything that's truthful that would change the discussion of what anybody says. So, yes, you are losing the argument, and the only reason you're doing it is because you're losing the argument. Let's wrap this up.
This practice of silencing millions and millions of people, it will create wounds and divisions in this country that we cannot heal from.
Absolutely.
This is extremely
exactly what I'm talking about.
Amazing platforms. We can do amazing things with
Absolutely.
what these companies have created. But if we continue down this path, it'll tear us apart. You do not have a constitutional obligation to enforce the First Amendment, but I would say that you absolutely have an obligation to enforce American values, and the First Amendment is an underpinning of American values that we should be protecting until the day we die. Thank you, and thank you for indulging me.
That little last statement that he said is absolutely the truth. That little last statement also proves that you're fascist, you're the communist, you are the problem. You people at Google, YouTube, Facebook, anybody that's silencing, removing the voice of people, you're violating their civil liberties, their First Amendment birthright, people. Yes, it's a birthright. I can tell you, fuck you, you're a piece of shit and you can't do nothing about it. Yeah, ha ha ha, I'm a fucking asshole and you can't do nothing about it. That's your fucking problem. And you think that you can do something about it. Let me remind you before I close this up here. You're creating the very problem that you think that you're stopping. Think about it, you little fucking pricks. Yeah, I'm mad. Yes, I'm using foul language. I'll tell you what. Somebody's going to catch you out on the street, and it's going to be an ugly situation. And don't blame anybody else for their stupid act that they're going to do to you, because you created that scenario. People are going to hunt you fucking down if you continue to do this. It's in the fucking air. That's the way nature works. You keep silencing a sector of a society, they're going to snap. And guess who they're going to come after? You people. Yes, you people. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's groups of people already talking about it. I'm not going to do nothing. I don't dig violence. But you know what? I've lived long enough to know that people react to violence. And you're putting these people in that very position that they have no other choice but to use violence. Because you're not letting them speak. You're silencing their voices. And silence is violence, ladies and gentlemen. When these people realize deep down inside, here on the internet, that groups of people, fascist communists that are running these companies, are silencing them and robbing them from their voice, robbing them from their own dignity because they don't have a voice, there's only going to be one choice that ends up happening in this. I hope you do realize that. I truly, really, hopefully think that if you don't understand that, expect what I'm telling you. He's also warning you in a kinder manner than I am. That little statement, that last statement that he said, if you don't take heed to that, everything I said and the things he even said are going to unfold. It's just in Mother Nature, baby. You keep silencing these people, well, expect, and I truly mean this, expect people are going to come after you. Because that will, by doing what you're doing, it's going to leave them no other choice. And then you're going to call them terrorists and all this other stuff when you created the problem to begin with your fascist ideologies. Yes. And actually, you're the tyrants. You're the tyrants that are creating a division. I don't know, maybe you guys want to fucking see a bloodshed in this country. Maybe you want people to fucking hunt you down. I don't know. Maybe you're that stupid. I don't know where you even got your education. Because obviously, if you had any education, you wouldn't be doing this. And you would know the ramifications and actions that will happen from your actions. Because think about this. For every action, there is a reaction. And you're creating that reaction. Needless to say, are you not entertained yet? Ha! Have a good day.